What is up, guys? Welcome to a brand new video. So I get asked all the time, like, how do I escape bronze, silver, or gold in this specific role? What picks will help me get out of it? To be honest, I think you could climb with like anything, but there are some that just perform way better at those brackets and will help you get out if you're stuck. Let me know what you think of this video idea, and remember to sub and stick around to see the other roles. I'm going to be going through all of them at some point. Also, remember, we've teamed up with the guys over at Haste to connect you to the legal Overwatch servers on their own lines to reduce that packet loss and make the connection more stable. There are a lot of things that claim to reduce your ping, I know, but they mostly use a VPN, and Haste has built their tech from the ground up specifically for gaming using their direct route to the servers. It is in free beta for the NA servers right now, so you can give it a go. It's helped a lot of you already, and it's super simple. So we're going to talk about the picks, but also specifically what you have to do to get these to work and get out with them. A list of the champions, by the way, is going to be in the description if that is what you're after. Xin Zhao is the monster low elo jungler at the moment. Number 1 jungler in bronze, top 2 or 3 in silver and gold since 7.4 here. He's one of the best late game champions you can play. He's got really good damage and healing, which makes him difficult to kill once he does get a few items. It also means like chaos style of games, which are really popular at lower ranks, are better for him, like where you trade 1 kill for 1. That happens a lot, right? Like someone will dive in, they'll get a kill, but they'll also die. And obviously that's not ideal, but with Xin it's okay. You get your items, you'll do more than others, so it's not actually that bad. Your early game, you might be a bit squishy, so that will happen a lot, but 2 damage items and then tank is a perfect build for lower ranks, really. So it's going to be something like Warrior, Triforce, Dead Man's Visage, Morn, Guardian Angel. Now Warrior and Triforce is a ton of burst damage, and statistically is actually the best you can play at lower ranks. You kill people faster at the very start of a fight. You might not have as much sustained, but it's about that upfront burst. But also you kind of want to get tanky afterwards. The mastery is further, you stack it very fast with your Q auto reset and your W attack speed. It is a ton of AD. So what's the game plan then? Really, early game you want to farm and gank when you can. You're good 1v1, but you have to remember you are low health. Mid game you want to find people alone, ideally. You have lots of damage, but no tank items really. So once you have them, you can look to dive into more people, but before that, you really want to find them alone and burst them. Overall, you have like no pressure really when you play Xin. You're okay early, you have good farm, you have good ganks, and late game, you'll stand a very good chance to carry no matter what has happened. Hecarim is probably not the one you're expecting actually in this video, but he crushes bronze and silver so hard. He's actually okay in gold as well. It's mainly the early stages of the game. It's very easy to get fed on him. You farm fast and healthy, you gank over and over, and in most games, you're going to get a big lead. If you get ahead, right, you have your Triforce and then you start to get tanky, you do a lot of damage, but you won't be taking very much yet, and they will not have an answer for you. That is the biggest thing about this. Late game, you're going to be good, but they have more damage, and early though, you're harder to kill and you do a lot, so you can really carry yourself. Build wise, you want to get your boots early, your upgraded boots, Swiftness, Tabby, Mercurial, whatever you're going to get, then into Triforce and Cinderhulk afterwards. This is the biggest mistake lower ranked Hecarims do. They rush Cinderhulk before boots and before Trinity. Courage of the Colossus is still good for masteries. You jump in, you get a big shield. Runes, just full AD are fine. Mooseby Quints are better if you have them though. Your game plan early should be farming and ganking as much as possible, specifically with Ghost, right? Ghost is an awesome aggressive summoner on Hecarim, not defensive. You use this as you go for ganks. Mid game, you want to run around with your ultimate and start fights. You pick people off and take towers and dragons and stuff while you're still stupidly strong. Overall, early game, you have much more control, right? You have the damage to kill people, you have the tanky stats to not die, but later your damage is going to fall off a bit and everybody else will be doing more to you as well. Shyvana is again one you might not have expected, but this one is all about outperforming the enemy team and becoming unstoppable. It's a very solo carry pick, which is why I think it's so good. She is one of the highest gold earning out of any jungler at lower ranks, not because she gets the most kills or assists, but because she farms like an absolute monster. You don't have to sacrifice everything either. You can farm so fast that you gank afterwards, but just remember, even if your team gets a little bit behind, you will wreck late game. You're also amazing 1v1. You find the enemy jungler alone or a laner, and they are completely boned. For better players or more experienced players with Shyvana, Bloodrazor, Titanic, and Frozen Mallet with Dead Man's and Visage, that is really good. For newer ones though, Cinderhulk into Titanic, Frozen Mallet, Dead Man's and Visage, you'll tank your early game, you have less damage, but it's way more of a forgiving build. Further though is absolute nuts on her, a ton of AD, you quick stacking with the resets in your kit. Also, actually try Ignite instead of Flash when you played her a little bit. It makes your 1v1 insane. The game plan early is to farm up and gank when you can, like we said, right? You really only gank lanes that are pushed in though. You want to go from behind. Mid game is where you become a beast though. Like, how about having more CS than laners? That's so easy to do on Shyvana. You have damage, you have some tankiness to dive in, you're very hard to deal with, but late you just keep scaling anyway. Overall, having so much damage but also being tanky is like the perfect recipe for lower ranks. The more I research this video, the more I realize that. If you make mistakes, you aren't going to be punished that much. You're hard to kill, but you do loads of damage. What more could you really want? Warwick is going to be one of the picks who is an amazing tank with some damage thrown in, game, but he peaks more at the gold level. I think it's kind of harder to play than the others here, but he's not as much of a solo carry either. That means he doesn't thrive in chaos games as much, so he's better in gold. Now, having said that though, if you get the basics down, you can play Triforce, Cinderhulk, Titanic at lower ranks and absolutely demolish people. You have your fear, your healing, your damage, and long range engage. He's great at starting fights and ganking as well actually. Normally you would go Cinderhulk, Titanic, Deadman's, and Visage, which is kind of the tanky build, but it actually helps your team win a lot of games. The more carry one is Trinity, Cinderhulk, Titanic, Deadman's, Visage, and stuff like that. Fervor is great though, especially with the Trinity attack speed. Now early game you really want to farm a lot, like you gank afterwards, you're always going to be healthy, it's very easy to farm on a Warwick. Make sure you run in and leap in and fear straight away though. Mid game you're going to be pretty tanky, but you'll still do some good damage, so this is the time you really kick them in the nuts and you just gank a ton. Before they actually group, like you catch them with your ultimate. Overall you're probably the best engaged tank you can play because of the amount of damage he also provides. Like you have decent farming, but you're there kind of as a meat shield at the gold level at least. If you want to take the risk and play more damage, you can do. At lower ranks I definitely think Trinity is beast, but you will get screwed if you get behind. Late game though is going to be absolutely insane. Now Zac was a bit of a surprise for me actually. Like I would have thought if there was going to be a sick tank at lower ranks it would be Warwick, but actually it's Zac. You never really know where he's going to gank from. This is the biggest thing, that people think they're safe or they don't ward anyway, and it's so easy to slingshot in and just ruin them. Your farming is good, it's easy, you stay healthy, but it's legit honestly just the ganks. The reason he is so good at lower ranks is because of his early game impact. You get into lane like from so far away, you camp lanes as hard as a Shaco, you do as much damage as like a Hecarim, and you still build full tank. Build wise is going to be like Cinderhulk or Runic Echo, so it depends if you want to go tanky or more AP, Visage, Boots, and tank afterwards. The funny thing is for masteries you can go Courage of the Colossus or Wind Speakers to heal actually. Wind Speakers sounds very weird, right? But the extra healing is super handy now Courage has actually been nerfed. So early game you really just want to gank over and over and over. Like sure, you need to farm and stuff, but every time you see even the slightest chance to gank, get over and do it straight away. You can gank out of range and over walls and do a ton of damage early with your base damage. Mid game you still want to engage and catch people as much as possible. You do it over walls that are vision, you get your team to group if you can and just grab people like that. Even if they don't group though, just keep ganking people and you should have a really big lead. You are really good if the lanes extend and people just farm sideways. Overall you're going to be the best ganker at lower ranks even if you are a tank. It sounds weird, I know, but that is how it is. Honestly, it's super easy to do it. You press E, you land on someone and you survive forever and you do damage. So surprisingly, a sleeper pick in silver and gold especially is Skarner, but he's one of the best late game champions you can play. It's really weird actually, but he has an insane amount of damage with just Trinity Force, so he's exactly like a Hecarim. This is basically Hecarim on steroids in gold. You have multiple ways to proc your courage. You're probably the best engaged kind of tank disruptor in the game later actually. You have your ultimate to drag people in, but your E stun as well, your shield, your move speed to kite. So you're actually just really irritating. You'll be surprised how much damage you do early to carry with a Trinity Force and gank with, but how long you'll survive later into the game. The build is going to be Trinity, Cinderhulk, Deadman's, Visage, Locket, Righteous Glory, Guardian Angel. You want to be as annoying as possible, but also have a really good engage. Courage of the Colossus just makes you even more tanky and even more annoying, especially early when you're building your Trinity. You have this shield when you dive in. Early game, you really want to farm and gank as much as you can, which is pretty easy because you can spam your Q over and over. Trinity would also give you a lot of damage, way more than you think, but you will be pretty easy to kill. Mid game is where you start to get a lot better because you're tankier, but you still have that damage carrying over. So you'll carry more than you think with the stuns and ultimate. You're just very hard to kill. You're a threat and you have these stuns. Overall, you are a god at catching people, and that is the easiest way to win at gold, honestly. People stand in a dumb place, you ult them, you drag them back, and you've turned that game into a 5v4. You combine that with how tanky you are, your damage, and you're much more useful than other tanks. That's kind of the biggest difference. You have damage, but you scale into the game really well. Now let's go ahead and pick one for all three of these. So for bronze, silver, and for gold, which is Master Yi. At kind of a basic level, he's basically as brain dead a champion to play as you can get, but he's also super effective. In bronze games, for example, he not only averages the most gold out of every single jungler, he also gets the most kills and in the top 5 for farm. He's not that great early, but like late game he is, and it's easy to carry on Yi as well. The hardest part really is thinking about it and just choosing when to go in or finding people alone. Build wise, like Blood Razor, Blade the Rune King, and Phantom Dancer, Deadman, Sterix, and stuff, those are the most normal items. It's heavy attack speed, it's amazing 1v1, and it's really good at taking towers as well. Now if you're going to team fight though, you want to go for more like Deadman's and Sterix third. Of course, we're looking at Fervor as well. It's loads of AD, you have the attack speed to stack it really fast, and at level 18 for example, you're going to get like 60 AD pretty much naturally straight away on every single auto. Early game, you really want to farm as hard as you can, but gank if teammates are being pushed in. It's like Shyvana, right? Your ganks are not that bad actually if you can catch catch them pushing, especially with the red buff. Mid game is where you really want to find people alone farming side lanes in the jungle, whatever it is. You do a crap ton of damage now, but you don't really want to team fight just yet because you have no defense. Overall, you're a late game monster who is easy to play, but easy to carry with. Like, he's better right now anyway. There's more to him than people think, so you can get better at Yi, but the recent buffs have just made it easier, to be honest. You want to gank if they push, you farm well, you get your items, and you kill everything. It's very straightforward as a game plan. So let me know what you thought of this video. Thank you very much for watching, but for now, let's go to the robots.